it was when I was doing that tour, I spoke to the speaking agency, because it was the agency Speakers from the Edge that organised that. And he said that is by far the cheapest world first record that he's ever heard of. It was $5,000 for a world first. Whereas if you take away insurance, logistical help and flights, you've got $2,000 to get across the country, you know?
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Ash, the entrepreneur. So I want to talk about, planning, funding, marketing, costing, sponsors, etc.
Yeah.
And I know before we came on camera, very kindly said you'd talk about some exact numbers and things as well.
Yeah.
I think, one thing I was thinking about earlier when we were talking about world records, and that you were thinking these world records would translate into money, and then realize it didn't. And I think, it's probably a mistake that so many people make about so many skill sets. And I've got friends, for example, who've been Olympic gymnasts or Olympic swimmers and these kind of things, and as a layperson you think that is such a high level skill that set them up for life, that it's totally monetizable, etc. And the answer is invariably that it isn't. And if these people have ever gone on to go and make some money using that skill set, it's in a completely different area. Like, for example, I had a mate of mine who took the took the bronze in gymnastics in the Barcelona Olympics.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, so we're talking 96 or something, aren't we?
Okay.
Or 92, whatever it was. So he's a bit older than me. Came back from the Olympics, was basically flat broke, had no idea what to even, never mind how he's going to earn money, no idea what to do with his life anymore, because he spent his entire life training towards that. And then got a phone call from a friend who was over, I think, in Holland at the time, saying, you need to come to Holland. There's some guy who's made something up called Cirque du Soleil, and he needs people to, he needs gymnasts to perform, which is obviously 25, 30 years later has become the Cirque du Soleil that we all know around the world. And he went on to earn himself a nice six-figure income for the next 30 years as a translatable skill set from that. But the fact that he was a gymnast who took gold took bronze in the Olympics meant fuck all when it comes to making money. So I guess you've had to port from one side to the other. You've learned that just doing the adventures themselves are not enough. It doesn't get you paid. It might scratch your itches, but now you need to make a career out of this. So let's talk.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So pretty much, I was scuba diver. I then focused on Mongolia, and you're right. I kind of thought, wow, one single world record, a world first. Edmund Hillary, first up Everest. Everyone knows his name. I thought if I complete that, boom, I'm gonna be made. But what I didn't account for was I didn't have money for a PR. I didn't have money for agency. I didn't have money to try to market what I was doing. It was all just through social media. But I was going to do it anyway. I was going to do the trip anyway, just for my own, for the experience, for the love, for the passion. It was only when I figured it was a first, I thought it's a no-brainer. There's a way to monetize because there's very few firsts left. Yes, you can have marathon across a country, or yes, you can have fastest person, but a first is so hard to find. And so that's where I started then thinking about press, about marketing, about after that, maybe I can do some TED Talks, maybe I can publish a book, maybe a TV would like to take the show if I manage to self-film it. Maybe I can turn myself somewhat into a brand where that is monetizable, and I can start working with different brands who share the same ethos of carving your own past and being first to do something. And so already from that age, I was 21 thinking about all of this. I knew I was onto something. And I did it. I almost died. I completed it. I think we reached about 250 million, which at the time it seemed a lot in terms of global reach, BBC World News, you name it. And then I came back, and then it very quickly went quiet again. Very quickly went quiet. At that point, I was 100, 200 pounds in my account. I was living with my parents. Still at that point, I couldn't couldn't get gym membership. So I was training in my back garden, and I realized, fucking hell, this is difficult. This hasn't brought anything in. And I don't want to be lifeguarding. I don't want to be a waiter again in Wales, but then I don't want to go back and earn £200-300 a month as a scuba diver. So I was stuck in limbo land. And then I realized it took a bit of work, but I found another first, and that was Madagascar. But it was only when I did it a UK theatre tour after Mongolia. Sorry, I forgot about that. Okay. And that was that brought me in about 4 to 5k, and that's pretty much all as I earned for that whole year.
So how many theatre did you do? Were you the only speaker?
Yeah, I was hosting my own theatre. There was 13 different theatres across the UK. It was 90 minutes.
Just an evening with Ash.
Similar style, yeah. It was called Breaking Mongolia with Ash Dykes, but it was 90 minutes like that. That was my only income for the year.
How did you promote that? How did you sell it? And I guess that, because I'm trying to put this in context for people watching or listening to make some analogies for the things that they do. And again, also when you talk that into real money, if you did 13 things at 4 or 5 grand, you're probably getting 250 quid a throw or something.
About that. And I'm sure I had to cover my own petrol, rent out a car, because I couldn't afford a car, so I rented out a car, did a partnership with a local dealer whereby they would do it cheaper. So I managed to get around with that 13 venues. Took about a whole month of my time. Couldn't go anywhere, had to be based there. And that it was when I was doing that tour, I spoke to the speaking agency, because it was the agency Speakers from the Edge that organized that, and he said that is by far the cheapest world first record that he's ever heard of. It was 5 grand for a world first, whereas if you take away insurance, logistical help and flights, you've got 2 grand to get across the country, and so it was one of the cheapest.